Are you ready? This is a good one. Okay, I said, all right, explain it like I'm 5. And it goes,
Yes,
okay,
listen.
first, make some rules. The CISO, like a school principal, should make clear rules for everyone to follow when working with AI, like a smart robot. These rules will help make sure the AI is safe and doesn't cause any trouble. Number 2, give everyone a job. The CISO should give specific jobs to different people and teams so everyone knows what they need to do to keep the AI behaving well. It's like assigning classroom chores to students so everyone keeps the classroom neat and tidy.
There are so many AI standards being developed today that you probably are confused and thinking about which AI standard should you refer to. In this episode, we did the whole human versus machine, went through 3 specific AI security frameworks, went through one from Databricks, went through the one from NIST, went through the OWASP top 10 and used ChatGPT and Claude, a combination of both of those, and some of sprinkle of Gemini over there as well. And Caleb and I were able to come up with the best way for you to move forward, considering the amount of information that is provided in some of these documents. Like, for example, the Databricks document is like 85 pages. OWASP top 10 was over 100 MB, so you can even imagine the number of pages in there. NIST was just NIST. So I would definitely recommend, if you are someone who's thinking about, hey, I want a starting point for which standard do I use, how do I approach, what are the top 3 things as a CISO or a security leader I should be doing in starting that journey for building a strategic path towards hopefully a secure AI environment. So all that and a lot more in this episode of AI Cybersecurity Podcast. If someone who's trying to work on this, definitely do share this episode with them. I'm sure they'll definitely find this valuable. If you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, definitely give us 5-star rating. It really helps us get more noticed. And in case you're on YouTube, because we do video version as well, so we know this is the kind of content you love, hopefully you will get to walk away from this episode learning what are the top 3 things you should be doing today to start working on building an AI security standard across your organization. And I'm not just talking about a governance standard, a lot more than that. What's up, everyone? So today, here's human versus machine. We're going to go through some of the standards because there's plenty of standards for us to make a call on whether AI is the right call for us. There's only a few that we could find which are interesting enough for us to go through this, but instead of going through the regular way, the human way, we're going to use the machine to do this. Caleb has his Claude 3 ready. I've got my ChatGPT ready. This is at least figuring out, from our perspective, if it makes sense what it creates by reading a document. We're not asking you to hallucinate anything, so we're not asking you to predict anything, at least just to summarize information. And if it's good enough for us to make the call for, this is a standard which I would use for X activity or in my strategy or my roadmap. Would that be a good summary, Caleb? What else do you think we should make it raise the bar for AI? It shouldn't be a bar, right?
Just make it casual and let's just screw around with it and see and see how well it works.
Sure. We try with the most, I guess the most intense one, which is more practical, which is the OWASP top 10.
So I'm starting with the intense one. So Databricks is
is that the intense
Databricks'
one? Okay.
is very NIST-like. Yeah, it's very NIST. It's like a
Would you
maturity
say-
model.
Is it NIST enough that we can use it as a starting point for building something bigger?
It's pretty comprehensive. I guess the question is, does it make practical sense? Which, coming from Databricks, I would assume so. What I like about it, though, is like Databricks is obviously a data company, first and
Yep.
foremost, not a security company. Databricks as an engineering organization is then saying, here is what we do in terms of our recommendations for data security, AI security. So I like that angle because it's interesting that you're going to get people who are more engineering focused building this. And obviously, I might be a little tainted here as I come from Databricks and I know some of the people that worked on this, but they're sharp people.
Would you say, should we use a non-security report as a starting point? Because I'm literally just uploading that to ChatGPT to make a summary for myself. My prompt is simple. I'm a CISO. Can you read the attached document? Tell me the things that should be important for me. Please include a summary of the document that helps me understand if it's worth reading. I've just kept it super simple. At least ChatGPT so far has been document summary, which is basically saying it's a systematic approach to secure AI system components throughout the lifecycle. You get access to raw collection of ML deployments. The framework is designed for collaboration amongst business, IT, data, AI, and security teams. That's the document summary. Key takeaway for me has been, at least on my end for this, has been governance and compliance. Interesting though, because when I actually read the document or skimmed over it, I did not see governance and compliance.
You mean even in the Databricks document?
Yeah, I didn't. Oh, there is security there.
Yeah, it's data catalog governance. It's in there.
Interesting. See, and for context people who are listening or watching this, it is a 84-page document, which it summarized for me in less than a minute. And so far, it didn't call out specifically. I'm going to do a match on the table of content. And the way I'm looking at this is that if I were to spend the time myself going through each one of those topics, so 3 big topics are risk in the AI components, as well as the data intelligence platform, AI mitigation controls. They have mitigation controls and they have the risk in the AI components. I would have thought that would have been part of my summary. Okay, broadly speaking, that's what I'm trying to talk about.
Okay, so let's see what Claude has said. Key points: comprehensive guide, unlike approaches solely model or endpoint, takes a holistic view across 12 foundational components of a generic AI system, provides 55 actionable defense control recommendations. I'm wondering if that is all hallucinated or not. Takeaways: it maps security risk to specific AI system components, making it easier to identify and prioritize risk mitigation. That is true. The framework provides a structured way for cross-functional teams to discuss AI security threats. I don't know, it feels like that might be a reach. It offers 54 AI risk mitigation controls, each tagged out of the box configuration or implementation to help estimate the effort required for implementation on Databricks platform. There you go. That is one key note. It is for Databricks platform. The document provides guidance.
Accurate as well.
Is that accurate?
It would be accurate considering it's a Databricks document.
Implementing the DASF guidelines. In summary, valuable resources for CISOs on AI security strategy. In terms of summary, that's pretty generic. So I feel like that is okay. So I guess the real question on this, like if I go through and I start reading like my overall view of this stuff, what's interesting is it feels like there's a lot of just detail in this thing. You know, what I really want to know is just give me the first 3 things I should be doing in order to secure my stuff. So I'm going to ask, okay, what are the first 3 things you think a CISO should do according to this document to start the process? Let's see what this thing says. Like, I got nothing. I just want 3 things. Here are the first 3 things. Identify the AI business use case. Determine the specific use case currently implementing. Evaluate stakeholders. Determine the AI deployment model. Is it ML, RAG, fine-tuned, pre-trained, foundational, or external models? Understanding the deployment model will clarify the shared security responsibilities. I mean, that's pretty good. Select the most pertinent risks. Review the list of 55 security risks outlined in the DASF. Identify those most relevant to your organization. And for each risk, identify the specific threats targeting each AI system. Yeah, that's pretty good.
And would you say, if I were to put that co-pilot lens, that we just didn't have the time to go through an 85-page document, so we're asking for a summary? And it's really interesting because I did something which, because what's fascinating for me, and I don't know how people who are listening or watching this would take it as well, I just went back to my old query and added pretty much what he said. Give me 3 takeaway points or 3 things that I can start taking. I got risk assessment and control implementation. So I just added something to my existing query. I didn't ask it again. I basically added something and it went through the entire thing, gave me completely different takeaways. That was interesting because the first time I asked, okay, takeaway, it gave me like a whole bunch of AI integration strategy, best practice, threat intelligence, workflows development, policy and compliance. The next time when I asked it to be a bit more 3 points, gave comprehensive security controls, collaborative framework, adaptability. Nothing to do with any of the previous ones. Initial steps were risk assessment and control implementation, like start by conducting detailed assessment of the current use case and how this can be used to outline certain risks. Sounds reasonable. Second one was cross-functional collaboration, having a dedicated task force between security, data science, IT, blah, blah, blah. So ensure communication channels are there between the team to robust, continuous exchange of information.
Okay. Listen to this one. This is pretty good. Okay, so I said, all right, my follow-up was, okay, it told me the first 3 things I need to do, right? So the first 3 things are, what's my business use case? What model am I deploying? And what are my most pertinent risks? So I said, hey, I'm building a chatbot with customers using ChatGPT. And what are my most pertinent risks? And what does the DASF say to do in that scenario? And then it says, okay, based on the information provided, it appears you are building a chatbot using ChatGPT, which would likely fall under the category of external or foundational model in the DASF framework. In this scenario, the most pertinent risks according to DASF include 1, model serving, inference request 9.1 prompt injection, inference request 9.2 model inversion, inference request 9.8 LLM hallucinations. Inference response, 10.1, lack of audit and monitoring inference. And then output manipulation, inference response 10.2. To mitigate these risks, DASF recommends implementing the following controls, which this one's a little weird. Implement strong authentication and access controls such as SSO with IDP and MFA. This I don't think has anything to do with chatbot and customer controls, maybe on the back end a little bit, but control access to models and model assets, encrypt models, run models in multiple layers of isolation, treating all LLM output as potential. Okay, that's okay. Evaluate models for custom evaluation metrics. Consider using AI firewall prompt injection rules. You know what? I think one, pertinent risks were spot on. I think the DASP implemented controls was terrible.
No, but because as you said that, I looked at the document if there were actually external models called out, because I'm like, is it actually making it up? And it is called out. So they do have, for each of the controls they've called out there, they have called out external models, RAG-based LLMs, fine-tuned LLMs, and pre-trained LLMs. So clearly it is the right thing. Because in my case of ChatGPT, I think I'm still in that land of, I think I'm talking to a robot. There's nothing making sense right now. So I'm just going to add the prompt that you just, I think it's almost, hey, the three things that called out for risk assessment, cross-functional, continuous learning, I definitely find, at least in that context, because I think maybe because we have a couple more to go through, is it worthwhile just summarizing what we've seen so far and based on making a human call, and if we were to just have this on our hand.
So my final question I'm asking is, okay, if you and I were just talking, you would ask, what's the difference of this framework versus all the other AI security frameworks? If we don't know anything about it, like that's what we're going to ask. So my answer to you out of this would have been, one, it's very Databricks specific. So it's all about some of the controls around Databricks, although there is some general, very good recommendations on it. It's very NIST-like. So it's got a lot of order in terms of what it's going, and it's really comprehensive. It's hard to go through and say what is applicable in what way. It's just not formatted that way. That's my summary.
And I'm with you. I'm totally with you on that one, because I think the moment I saw 87 pages, I'm like, I'm using ChatGPT. I'm not going through this myself. That if I'm getting that response as my default, knowing the fact that I may potentially have hallucination from ChatGPT tells a lot about the fact that, do you really want it to be that big? And I'm sure, I don't want to say people have not done a good job. I'm sure they put a lot of intense research into it. I think it's more from a fact that at least using ChatGPT, because it sounds like Claude did a better job in this context based on the document. Because to clarify, you did just upload the PDF, right?
I just uploaded the PDF.
Yes, same here as well in ChatGPT. I uploaded the PDF, but it is still in that wishy-washy land. Maybe I'm sure people who have never been a CISO, they probably were like, oh yeah, cross-functional team should be great. I'm like, yeah, that's a good takeaway. Maybe, I don't know if it's like to your point about, I think in the first few episodes we spoke about like a 5-year-old. Maybe it is a 5-year-old CISO. You don't know.
So here's this. I asked that same question to Claude. Ready for the summary?
What is it?
In summary, the DAS differentiates itself through its comprehensive approach, actionable controls, collaboration-oriented design, adaptability, and integration with the Databricks platform, and its alignment with industry standards. These attributes make the DAS a valuable resource for organizations seeking to secure their AI systems effectively. I feel like that's about right.
Yeah, based on what we're seeing, at least I'm inferring from my ChatGPT response, definitely hitting the mark. That's really interesting.
If you and I were just standing around and I were talking to you at a happy hour or something, and we talked about the Databricks, and be like, oh, what is that? And be like, oh yeah, that's a pretty comprehensive NIST-like maturity model around AI. I like it. It's focused on assets. The remediation stuff is really focused a little bit more on Databricks platform. But
that's a good summary as well from it. All right, moving to the next one. Which is the next one you're going for?
We're going with OWASP. Is that right?
Yeah, sure. OWASP top 10.
OWASP top 10.
I've had to put that query before, so I'm going to edit that slightly and talk about the 3 takeaways. So what I'm putting in now is, again, I'm putting the attached document. Tell me what's important, summarize the document, and I'm going to add that bit that you called out earlier, which was around the 3 summary point. I think it's a good one to add. What are the first 3 things you think a CISO should do according to this document to start implementing this? And given I already have a sense that this is a very practitioner kind of document intended for but maybe more for a technical person rather than a leadership kind of role. So it'll be really interesting how that picks up. So have you got that uploaded already at your end?
I'm a pro on Claude, and it says you cannot upload attachments more than 10 meg.
Oh.
Wait a minute. How big is the OWASP one? It's 98.7 meg. What in the world?
It's 98.7 meg. That's right. But ChatGPT could just like inhale that shit.
Yeah, Claude won't allow me to to upload it. That's crazy.
So on this
Claude.
one, the OWASP top 10, I've uploaded a ChatGPT. Maybe if you want to do it there, because I'm surprised Cloud, I thought it had more space, but I guess it don't. Because I
It
just
also
tried.
says I'm a pro, and it also says I have 7 messages left until 2 p.m.
Okay, I do have a summary for my from a ChatGPT. Knowing what I know, because I was involved with the OWASP top 10 contribution thing, it at least the important actions are damn interesting enough to the point that important actions for CISO, establish security baseline and policy in regards to vulnerabilities that have been listed on the OWASP top 10, enhance security training, organize training sessions for developers in security for specific vulnerabilities with LLMs. And the third one, implement robust monitoring and response plans. So very practitioner focused, I would say.
Yeah, but
Set up
it's not telling
monitoring.
you the next 3 things you should do, right?
That's what it
Like,
said, basically.
yeah. Are you doing that in ChatGPT or in Claude?
ChatGPT, yeah. No, Claude didn't take that document. There's no way. Yeah, I'm surprised. So there's no size limit anymore on ChatGPT, but clearly there's a size limit on Claude because I just
I
tried
thought it was a
uploading it.
lot bigger than 10 meg though. That seems
I mean,
why is that the case?
there's no point
Oh,
being a pro these days.
that's super weird.
Because it doesn't really call out that there is a size limit technically when you sign up.
I'm gonna try Google.
Yeah, that's the next one anyway. So I think the summary over here for the OWASP top 10 is we only have the ChatGPT version because of the limitation in Claude, but at least it seems to hit the mark for what it's calling out in terms of summary, which I don't know if I'll probably use it as CISO, but I'll probably pass it to someone who works for me in my team and just
I
let them
feel like
do
a
it.
limitation of 10 meg file upload is a huge problem. Okay, I'm gonna try Google's
Yeah, go
right
for it. I'm
now.
gonna try upload Google as well. Actually, I wonder what before you whatever enter on your end, I would love to know if what the response time is, if it's any quicker. Let's just click together on the. Have you already?
I'll tell you what, I'm just uploading the document
Yeah.
and it is slow.
Oh, okay. Okay. We'll be back after this
It's still
commercial.
not done. So
We'll be back after this commercial, people. Short commercial.
it's just waiting. Okay, there we
Few
go.
moments.
What are the
Oh,
okay? So my prompt is, what are the first 3 things you think a CISO should do according to this document?
yeah. So I've also got initial. Let me just remove the I'm a CISO part. I'm gonna just put this as well. So I'm just going. What are the first 3 things you think a CISO should do according to this document to start implementing what the document prescribes?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
You ready?
Checking in 3, 2, 1.
Go.
All right.
Waiting.
Try printing.
Waiting.
I have the first one.
I'm at 8 seconds, 9, 10 seconds,
What
12
was the second one?
seconds.
I was third
Still
second.
waiting. 20
Wait, it hasn't
seconds.
started printing as well.
No printing yet.
Mine is done.
Mine is still, I'm at 27 seconds. This is using Google AI Studio for Gemini 1.5 Pro.
Oh wait, so you're not using Claude anymore. You're using Gemini.
Well, I can't use Claude because it won't accept the document.
Oh, so Gemini is taking that long.
I'm at 45 seconds, still no printing.
What the hell? You're actually gonna share your screen. I don't know if you can share your screen. I'm just curious what
Oh,
I
there
haven't
we
used.
go. At 53 seconds. Yeah, I can share my screen. Hold on.
Yeah,
Let me-
53 seconds to come up with.
53 seconds it took.
This is the unapologetically most advanced technology ever by Google.
At least it gave me something. Claude won't even let me upload it.
It is that, of course. So what you're getting
Understand
at?
unique risks with LLMs as outlined in the document, awareness and training, risk assessment, implement security controls and best practices, secure development lifecycle. No, none of this is very good.
I got conduct a comprehensive risk assessment, update security policies and training, enhance monitoring and incident response plan.
I want to see this. So the one thing that might be different here, I'm going to take the Databricks one.
Can you compare it?
Make sure to edit out my file upload screen. Okay, and then I'm going to take the same question. OWASP needs to reduce the size of that PDF, man.
Yeah, like it is just too high quality.
I don't know what's going on. Why is it so big?
Unify AI. Yeah, see, that's
Yeah, so this is about the document itself. So here's what's really interesting is when you read the Databricks one, it
Yep.
makes a lot of sense. When you say what
Yep.
are the top 3 things, it's identify the business use case,
Yep.
assess and prioritize the risk, select and implement controls, and it shows step by step, understand the why behind AI adoption, determine the deployment model, review these 55 risks, choose the right controls based on your risk assessment. This makes a lot of sense. So it's the way the document is written versus I think OWASP OWASP's top 10 document is very generic
Yeah.
and doesn't really talk about order or sequence versus clearly the Databricks one does.
Interesting. And I just realized that the prompt that I ran, even though it was run on the Google Secure AI framework, just before that I had run the OWASP top 10, the response that I got is actually calling out OWASP top 10.
Yeah, because it's blending. You have to start a new chat for each new document. Yeah, because it's going to take your history of
Oh
your
my God.
conversation and integrate it. So it's going to take your history prior about OWASP and integrate it into the Google one.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
See, okay, overall, everyone else was trying to think that they can just keep going on one and
No.
oh my.
Yeah, because remember it uses it uses your conversation as memory. So whatever you talk about previously, it's going to take into context into its current output. You can if your subjects are completely different, if you're like, let's talk about CISOs and AI, and then your next
Yeah.
conversation is what's the best toothbrush to use, like it will clearly differentiate between the output. But if you're talking about give me the best output from this CISO AI document versus that CISO AI document, and it's gonna merge the two.
Okay, so I've done the separation, and this time it called out expand strong security foundations at the AI ecosystem. As the first step, I should take, just very generic. I don't even know what that really means when you say expand strong security foundation to the AI ecosystem. Second one, extend detection response to include AI threats. It's obvious, but sure. Automate defenses to keep pace with threat. This is probably the most general. And I think to your point, is it because if I look at the document as well, the security framework from Google doesn't really specifically, it's not prescriptive.
No, and I think the challenge here is obviously from the document itself, you have to understand how practical are you going to be versus abstract and high level are you going to be.
Yeah, I guess the big picture thing that we're talking about, maybe if you are trying to make a call for, hey, my co-pilot and what framework, you almost still have to skim over the document yourself and make a call for, hey, is this going to be a document that I actually want to spend time on? Or because looking at the table of content, I actually still have to make that call. Looking at the table of content, is this still something that I would want to spend the time and effort in perfecting that query? Because you still have to prompt engineer your way through the perfect answer to yourself. And hopefully at the end of it, you get the answer you're after, which is, hey, how do I include this in the strategy? Or if I'm a practitioner, what kind of controls should I apply for, I don't know, prompt injection? Like you almost like two use cases, right?
Yeah. So let's take the standard. I feel like the
Yeah.
standard is always going to be NIST, right?
Yeah.
NIST is the go-to standard. Can I just say this? NIST document is 1.9 meg. That's a
Oh, wow.
PDF.
Okay, then. All right. So you're putting the NIST one yet? I'm going to start a
Yeah,
new platform.
I'm putting in the NIST one right now.
And we're still going with the same first three things based in the document, right?
Okay, based on this framework, here are the first three things a CISO should do to start the AI risk management process.
Mm-hmm.
1, establish policies, process, procedures, and practices for mapping, measuring, and managing AI risks. This falls under the govern function, category 1 in the AI RMF core. The CISO should ensure these are transparent, properly resourced, and implemented effectively. 2, put accountability structures in place by defining and documenting clear roles, responsibilities, and lines of communication related to AI risk management. The appropriate teams and individuals need to be empowered and responsible and trained. And then 3, foster an organizational culture and commitment to identifying, understanding, communicating AI risks and potential impacts. It's interesting because these are all under the govern function under NIST. So I guess the real question when we look at this, is that true? I get it that maybe the govern function might be what you can start with, but when we go through it, let's see.
Because my output is a bit different. Funny enough, is there a mention of the whole AI RMF thing at all in your end?
Yes, it does.
Okay, cool. So for me, the three things called out is understanding and addressing risk, impact, and harms, which when I look at the document was very NIST. If you know the NIST CSF, very much that. Establishing governance framework for AI, mapping AI risk. They all seem, yeah, obvious, but I was hoping for something more actionable. Like I was looking at the document, I opened it up on the side. It has 4 categories: govern, map, measure, and manage. I would have thought that would get called out. Like to
Yep.
me, when I look at this document as CSF, I'm expecting that, oh, what's that 4 category that I'm showing the board that, hey, this is where I was in the beginning. I'm maturing, this is how I'm going. But there is no mention of that. And to me, I wonder, yeah, and I don't know if it's because this information is never documented on the internet. At least I never found it, that this is what people use to talk to board. This is how you show maturity. Is there
Yeah, and I
lack of that?
don't, and in all the summaries, they don't really mention a lot of what I would call as a good summary
Mm,
of the NIST document. And I don't think these first three they make sense. I'll say that. There's
yeah,
definitely things that make sense in this. But
yeah,
to your point, I would have rather seen a little bit more broader across those three. Like when you take the RMF core, there's
yeah,
probably one thing we want to do in mapping, one thing we want to do in measuring, one thing we want to do in managing. And
yeah.
they
Like
just
I
pick
mean,
everything under govern, basically.
especially from a NIST document, which is already calling out. They actually call out the whole AI. I'm not even going to the content. I'm just looking at the table of content here. It already has that for the thing that I know about NIST, whatever 800 or whatever that thing is, govern, map, measure. The same as detect, response, whatever people want to show for maturity. That's right. That's an obvious call out that I see just from table of content. But okay, it's interesting. I just did can you summarize the document and tell me if it should be important? In the summary, it calls it out that the core functions I should use for risk measurement would be govern, map, measure, and manage. In the importance for a CISO, it doesn't talk about why is it worth reading. Given your role, this document is highly relevant. It offers structured approach to AI risk management that can help mitigate risk. Reading this framework can provide you necessary insight to craft strategy. And in essence, RMF is a valuable resource for developing a comprehensive understanding of AI risk, which is critical as technologies. It's still not how a human would do it. It's still more, I don't know how else to say it, apart from this fact that it's non-human.
Are you ready? This is a good one. Okay, I said, all right, explain it like I'm 5.
Yes,
Okay, first, make some rules. The CISO, like a school principal, should make clear rules for everyone to follow when working with AI, like a smart robot. These rules will help make sure the AI is safe and doesn't cause any trouble. Number 2, give everyone a job. The CISO should give specific jobs to different people and teams so everyone knows what they need to do to keep the AI behaving well. It's like assigning classroom chores to students so everyone keeps the classroom neat and tidy. Number 3, encourage everyone to be careful. The CISO should encourage everyone to always think carefully about what could go wrong with AI. And if someone notices a problem, they should tell others about it. This is like teaching kids to be careful and tell a teacher if they see something dangerous on the playground. By doing these 3 things first, the CISO can make sure everyone is ready and knows what to do.
wow.
This is
See, that
great.
is good, man. Is that Claude?
Yeah, yeah.
It's interesting. I
Explain.
did the same thing on ChatGPT, and what I got is everything is safe. It tells them how to make sure their computer creations don't cause any problems. Everyone knows the rules. It shows them how to use their building blocks the right way, following all the rules, checking the work, just like how you might ask someone if you build your block tower. This helps you check them for if the work has been done well, and last one is fixing mistake. If something with the computer blocks isn't working, this is not. I've liked your
Claude wins in
version.
this one. Yeah.
I definitely find the Claude is definitely like way better than we should have just tried this for the other ones, by the way. We should just like explain it like a
Explain it like a
five-year-old to
5.
me. Yeah. That would have been much better. Because I think now, yeah, everyone can understand it. But I guess on the 3-point summary thing, I definitely do feel both Claude and ChatGPT didn't do a great job, considering people who are experienced in the cyber world would be using this document. If I'm expecting a summary, I would expect a summary which would talk about, hey, similar to NIST CSF, blah, blah. But then I don't know if the prompt would be better if I gave it the context for NIST CSF and use that as a prompt. But based on what I've provided, I don't think I'm happy with this. But I don't know what you feel the output for the summary.
Yeah, I think the one thing that unfortunately around this, and listen, we're using like super just off the top of our head prompts here, right? Like
Yeah.
our prompts
Yeah.
aren't great for this kind of thing. But for sure, I would say Claude wins overall, I feel, in its explainability, assuming you can upload something smaller than 10 meg. And for some reason, I only have 4 messages remaining in
I
my
don't know why you
Claude
have that because I
usage.
don't have that thing. I've been using that shit since morning.
I don't know why I'm getting like lower usage limits on this for some reason. Also, I think OWASP clearly needs to change and compress their PDF document. That 98 meg seems a little extreme considering all these other much larger documents are like 1/50th of that size.
And I don't know
You
if
worked on that. You worked with them.
yeah, I did. So there was a lot
Can
of
you
people who
message them
wanted
and
to share the
tell them
opinion.
they should reduce
I
the
feel,
size?
I feel, to be fair, it's a lot of people who had a lot of work put into it. So there's a lot of opinions that had to be put in. To your point about Claude winning, and as you were talking, and as I was saying that maybe putting more context might help, I just asked ChatGPT the question on that NIST prompt that I had. How does this compare to the other NIST CSF standard? It actually called out that NIST CSF is based on identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover, whereas the AI framework is based more on govern, map, measure, and manage. And it talks about focus, how can you apply it, integration. So to be fair, I wonder if we were happier with the cloud, even because it's smarter in this context, even though it didn't call out the frameworks. But if we were to just spend a bit more time on the, say, giving some more context around it of what we expect, maybe it can get better. I don't know. I feel definitely there's a lot of experimentation here, but I think overall picture, now if we zoom out, we've gone through AI on the NIST side, we've gone through the Google one, we've gone through the Databricks one. Do we feel, and I know on the caveat that we actually have not read any of these documents in detail, we've just used what apparently people should do in 2024, use Copilot version of it. We've tried that version. Do you feel confident that this would have been enough if this was the only way you could read the document and we just could not read the document otherwise?
Yeah, I just don't. Also, one of the things going through to these things, when you come across, it's a hard job because you have to figure out when building one of these things, what is the audience you're guided towards? Like when you think about the NIST CSF, the audience is very clear, which is cybersecurity people, right?
Yeah.
Like that organization. And so it focuses technical, but
Yeah.
it balances the goal and where you're at versus like when you go through AI risk framework, what audience is it geared towards? Because it does talk in the document about safety and harm to ecosystem, harm to people. It really gets into safety and it's not really, and so it tries to be all things to all people, which
Yeah.
I think makes it a real challenge because then at what technical level do you get to, which then defines how practical you really are, which defines what audience you're really trying to gear towards. And so it's hard. I'd rather have seen this to some extent almost like one geared toward just cybersecurity. So actually just take NIST CSF, take your identify, detect, protect, all of these things still apply. And then where do they apply in the AI world and have it geared just towards cybersecurity audience. And then have one geared towards NIST engineers or even NIST governance and compliance. Have it more, if you want to talk more about safety, harm to people, harm to ecosystem, have one that's really more focused just on that. But it does feel like you're trying to merge everything and that becomes a really tough challenge.
And also considering to what you just said as well, we're already expecting with based on the branding that NIST has that this is where we should be going. There's a lot of trust that rides on it. I like the Databricks one as well, even though they went in that Databricks platform direction. But I loved how the separation was done for, hey, you may be using an external LLM, you could be using one for Databricks. So there's
What's the
definitely
shared
something that
responsibility model?
yeah, that's right. And it would definitely would make me feel like, oh, there's a lot more deeper research done on it. So maybe I can have the NIST as a framework that I start with, but I use the Databricks as the one that informs the components in it to, hey, what kind of model are we using? Oh, okay. So I think this is how I'll merge it into it. I feel like there's a combination of those two. Kind of maybe I would have hoped ChatGPT or Claude would have helped us in that direction, but turns out it just basically
That's another
blends in.
question we should do is upload the three of them
Ooh.
and say, which of these, take the OWASP one, take the NIST one, take the Databricks one. Hey, which of these are applicable in what ways if I'm trying to figure out my AI security strategy? Because if I were to just say, based on what I know, I would say the Databricks one is a phenomenal resource for engineers and a technical security team because it's practical, it's low level, it's implementable. It's something you can go and follow and figure out if you're an engineer or you're a technical security person, right? Like it makes sense. It's very logical, laid out in a nice way. It also makes sense, I think, just to CISOs in general. When you just think about logical, what's your business use case? Hey, who are the people around it? What's the risks around these things? This makes a lot of practical sense. Versus NIST, I think, is much higher level, much more broader, much more governance, much more safety, but security. If you're in a large organization where you have to think about bigger things than just AI and a chatbot, you may have to think about AI making choices in hiring or AI making choices in your product decision making and how it recommends things. Then it becomes a little bit more applicable versus OWASP is always been OWASP, which is here are the top 10. Just know that this is number 1, number 2, and number 3, and understand those risks and then figure out where it would apply in your system. It's these are just the things, these are the top menus you choose on the things that might be a risk for you. And then it really doesn't have anything about strategy.
I got curious as we were talking and I uploaded all 3 documents, the Databricks one, the OWASP one, and the NIST one. Somehow, ChatGPT decided to prioritize the OWASP top 10 one. maybe it's the biggest file. I don't want to say maybe that's why, and maybe that's the most
Did you do a
comprehensive.
new chat? Did you do a new chat?
A new chat,
Yeah.
literally. I just like, if I can share my screen, I just literally do a new chat. I just expected it to. So I just basically did a new chat based on the attached document. Can you tell me what are the 3 actionable steps I can take as a security practitioner or a CISO? And literally starts off by saying, "I'm
Yeah,
like,
I definitely don't agree. Maybe it's because you said based on an attached document versus documents.
oh, let's use that." So if I can just change this only attached documents.
Yeah, everything is very much about prompting.
Yeah, and understand how funny. Initially, when people talking about there'll be a prompt engineer role, initially I'm like, oh, I don't know. Oh, there you go. It's going vulnerability management using OWASP top 10, access control again,
It
OWASP top
still
10,
does, yeah, rely on OWASP one.
security awareness training. That probably is not in any of those documents, or maybe it is in NIST. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
not so good.
no,
Yeah.
and but to your point, maybe it's bad prompting as well, because I guess how we've spoken about in the previous episodes, how a prompt cannot just be a single one line. That's not a great prompt, even though I've told
Yeah.
it to.
How about do this? But I want you to give me the number one thing I need to do in order to implement my AI security program at one as a CISO. Please explain to me as a CISO and leader of an organization, what's the one thing I can do based on
Let me just try.
all of
Sorry,
these
please
documents, and which document is better for me to read.
better for me to read.
Yeah, you'll want to wait. You'll want to. Okay, yeah, just go with that, and then I'll tell you a second one. Let's see what it says.
It'll be funny if it crashes. Oh no, it didn't crash. I was like, I didn't see that. Went on the OWASP top 10 again.
What's it wins? What's top 10 wins?
I genuinely feel maybe it's the fact that because it's the largest document by far. Oh no, there you go. Other document summary. Okay, so it starts off talking about OWASP top 10. It somehow picked that as the recommended document and gave us a
Like
summary
it's
of the other
so
two,
then
which
I
is
would
the
say
NIST
take
and
the exact
Databricks.
same prompt and then change it to I am a software engineer.
Should I want to say security? No, I don't have to do that.
No, just software.
Really interesting.
Because it should then say Databricks.
Oh yeah, because
Right.
based on the role, it should probably change. Really interesting if it recommends. I genuinely feel maybe there is something on the along the side of, because if I'm just trying to think of this as a
The,
back
the
at the back end.
Databricks is too focused on Databricks.
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
Now, the other thing I would also say is I'm not sure if this is true, but OWASP, in terms of training data and CISOs and cybersecurity, should be pretty heavy. Although I feel like NIST is pretty also heavy in that. Let's see, what does it say?
Oh, the recommendations is interesting, man. If you're involved in developing and managing application, OWASP top 10 would be the most relevant. For a broader perspective on AI security, the NIST AI risk framework would be a more suitable choice.
It's
If
not
you're
bad.
working within a Databricks environment, Databricks AI security framework, that's a good recommendation. It somehow worked better for a software engineer than for a CISO,
Yeah, of course. That would be my
because there's a lot more data points for software engineers than like
yes.
training data.
Yes. And I would agree with its second. The NIST AI is too broad.
Yeah.
The Databricks one is too Databricks focused.
Yeah.
And so its default says the OWASP top 10 is cybersecurity only and is around LLMs. Therefore, it makes the most sense.
Yeah, I just need to find a document which is not the largest document and prove myself wrong. Because I generally feel it's like if I'm basically making a data model, I probably want the most amount of data possible. If I wonder if I have a bias towards larger files, but I
But
need to find.
what's interesting is human versus bot, though.
Yeah,
As a human reading these three documents, I would say as a CISO, there is a combination of these things that actually makes you have the most applicable. Because the OWASP top 10 is not going to give you the applicability you need, but there's a lot of good guidance in the Databricks one, and obviously a lot of good guidance in the NIST one. I look at this and I do agree. If people ask me what should I do, I generally trend towards more of what Databricks is saying in its sequence, which is first, what is your use case in AI and what are you thinking about doing? And start small, right?
Yeah.
In order to do that. Versus I think NIST goes with a more broader approach, which is assume AI in your organization in general, you need the right governance structure, the right policies and compliance structure, and starts really top down broader in its applicability. And so as a CISO, I would actually say human wise, I feel Databricks and NIST have a far more top three as a CISO. What would I try to structure things? Versus necessarily the OWASP one.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
yeah, I actually don't think this would be it. But maybe what you should do is ask the same question we've been asking, which is what are the top three based on all three of these documents that you now have? Give me what you think your top three for a CISO should be.
All right, based on the content, again, OWASP top 10 stands out. Oh no, actually, security baseline for LLM application. I would say that's a good one.
It keeps going back to the OWASP top 10 though.
Yeah, but I guess maybe to what you said, it's also because, oh no, actually, see, dude, this is actually not bad because the second step it's saying establish a framework based on the NIST, which is proposed by NIST. It actually didn't even
Okay, there we go.
So first one, establish a security baseline for LLM application, which is based off the OWASP top 10 document. Second, develop and implement a robust risk management framework based on the NIST. And the third one is integrate continuous security monitoring and incident response for AI systems using a comprehensive incident response plan. And it's not referring to any document over there.
But just data leakage model throughout. Yeah, that's just not bad.
I guess is it also because now we've been massaging it, blending it. How much is black magic versus how much is actual? I want to be proud for my random prompt that I came up, but I also feel like it's maybe a bit biased. But looking at this, I'm like, yeah, maybe makes sense. I feel like
what's actually also interesting is our methodology in this, which is we started out by uploading each document individually and asking the same question and then doing some compares, which I do think like I walked away with that. I feel like Claude won that just based on the same prompt. But as opposed to us actually going to the goal that we really wanted, which is what started this, which is there's three of these documents, the Databricks one, the LLM one, the NIST one. What is applicable? Can you just go through this and just tell me what matters? The top three things that just matter out of these documents. And so we should have just gone direct to that, the goal, instead of these like minor steps that.
But I think I still definitely feel it's valuable because some people may not even know about the other document. So they probably would have started just with one. And maybe where you would want it to go, where it can recommend other similar documents, which you would find helpful for your research. But now that we know, would you say, and I think we can have a good summary as well for where we can go with this as well. So in terms of the NIST and the Databricks, definitely setting the right foundation and the comprehensive security baseline for how exposed we are using OWASP top 10, all the 100 MB of it. So like I think the entire 100 MB that's going to be spent on it. But I think I'm happy with this. So in conclusion of this episode, would you say now that we have summarized it, we have done the NIST, OWASP top 10 and the Databricks document for an AI framework. Based on what we've heard so far, I think the last one is probably the highlight for me, which is that make a security baseline using OWASP top 10, build a robust risk management framework using NIST. And I probably would maybe put an asterisk in there for maybe consider putting Databricks methodology of the different kinds of model, and then followed by continuous security monitoring incident response. That's my summary so far of the three documents.
I actually think this final is pretty strong. When you read through this, it's strong. Like when you go to, it even says in the first one with talking about OWASP, utilizing the frameworks, but it does say, hey, conducts a comprehensive review of where are LLMs being used in your organization today? How are they integrated and what risks do they bring? And then utilize OWASP top 10 to look at the best practices and look at the most critical ones, such as prompt injection, insecure output handling, and model theft, which is like that's practical, makes sense. Then it goes to your NIST one, right? Develop robust risk, which says, hey, look at the guidance, look at the mitigation, the continuous monitoring, include specific protocols for data handling, privacy and compliance, AI ethics and legal standards, ensure it's agile enough to adapt to fast evolving nature. This is like pretty good. Incident response. What do you do? What is an AI incident response?
To detect and respond, and also to build a comprehensive incident response plan for specific.
I think that's pretty strong. I would say that's pretty strong.
And even it's calling out examples like a data leakage through model outputs or exploitation of vulnerabilities in LLM application. So maybe I should space this as a blog somewhere, and that'll be great as well. So I feel like at the end, we definitely got to a point where we at least know a good starting point. So started off by this wide funnel of go looking at three, but we have landed on somehow our own framework, which seems pretty good, which people we can recommend to people.
It feels practical, but it also feels like it applies at any level, and it's just good guidance.
By the way, I think this is really interesting because I think at least one good valuable thing that I'm taking away from this is that we've been able to distill the information using AI and create something for AI. So any final words before we close out the episode, man?
I would say one of the interesting points about this is when we start getting AI to where it really does have almost infinite context, where it's not about fine tuning or you train this base model and then you have this infinite context of this stuff. It really does show to some extent that I think a lot of people I know I'm going to say this is going to sound crazy. Is there really a purpose sometimes to consulting and understand? I think there can be an elimination of a lot of jobs, and it really
Yeah.
does go to just more of a human in the loop expert to verify. But after you even do that enough times and you gain trust in the way this
Yeah.
thing does this, like it's pretty good. Like this is pretty strong.
I think lately I've been thinking about this the same as driving a car. First time you drive a car, everyone's a bit nervous, gets the L plate, you're trying to do a test run. But once you're good at it, like you're really good at it. Like I'm not saying you can be a car racer, but at least you're good enough to the point that you can drive on the road safely. I feel
Yeah.
like the AI journey is going to be similar, where a lot of people would start with that L plate, or I know we don't know L plates in Australia when you start off, but whatever the version of a learner's permit in America and otherwise is, you start. Most people would be in that category for a while, whatever that tenure looks like, and then we slowly graduate on to becoming a lot more better. So now I don't need to go to a what's the driving instructor or whatever. There'll be
Yeah.
definitely parts that would just be eliminated. So just by nature of it. But at the moment, I feel most of us are on those L plates. Another great episode. Thanks so much for taking the time, man. Thank you so much for listening to that episode of AI Cybersecurity Podcast. If you are wondering why aren't we covering all topics, because maybe the field is evolving too quickly, so we may not even know some of the topics we have not covered. If you know of a topic that we should cover on AI Cybersecurity Podcast or someone we should bring as a guest, definitely email us on info@cloudsecuritypodcast.tv. Which reminds me, we have a sister podcast called Cloud Security Podcast, where we talk about everything cloud security with leaders. Similar to the AI cybersecurity conversation, we focus on cloud security specifically in the public cloud environment at cloudsecuritypodcast.tv, which if you find helpful, definitely check out www.cloudsecuritypodcast.tv. Otherwise, I will look forward to seeing you on the next episode of AI Cybersecurity Podcast. Have a great one. Peace.